The Portland Trailblazers, led by Damian Lillard, have always been in playoff contention, but they just haven't been quite good enough to win it all. They always had an elite offense, but they were just not good enough, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, they made the Western Conference Finals in 2019, but they got swept by the Warriors. And in other seasons, they've pretty much always been first round exits. And yes, they have Damian Lillard, who's an all NBA caliber player, but besides him, the supporting cast was decent, like it was alright to make the playoffs, but not good enough to win the championship. And this season, the Blazers were kind of in a weird spot where they have a mix of veterans, older players, and also younger players they want to develop. And in this season, they started off strong, but now they're not only out of the play-in, but out of the playoffs. And it's just been a really weird season. Yes, they faced a lot of injury issues, and that was probably a reason why they really weren't that competitive this year. But like, overall, if you see their advanced stats, they were 16th in offense, which, okay, that's middle of the pack, but they were 27th in defense. And if you just look at this roster, you can tell it's not a good defensive team. Like, Jeremy Grant, I would say is a really good defender, but like, he's their only good defender. Dame, not the best defender. Anthony Simons, not the best defender. Yusuf Nurkic, not the best defender. And even with Dame playing out of his mind, he was probably at least a top 3 point guard this year, probably behind like Steph or Luca, or maybe you can make the case for Shea over him, but like Dame was averaging 32 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, but he pretty much did not really have that much help. Yes, Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons both put up 20 points a game, but they both faced injury problems. Dame was out for a little bit, Jeremy Grant was out for a little bit, Anthony Simons, when they were starting to get on a roll, he went out, and it's just a weird spot for this Blazers team. Yes, they have Yusuf Nurkic, and honestly, Yusuf Nurkic is just not good. Like, he was pretty solid in like a couple years ago, but then he broke his leg, which that was a really gruesome injury, but like that really held him back. He had injury problems, and now when he's back, he's just not what this Blazers team need. He's a solid offensive big, but like his defense isn't that good, and alongside Dame, you need a defensive center like a Miles Turner-esque person, but he's just not the answer, and especially they have him locked up for a big contract under multiple years, which is probably the worst case that the Blazers can have. And they also have this young group of young guys like Shaden Sharp, Nazil Litter, and Keon Johnson. And honestly, like these players have, I would say, a little bit of upside, especially Shaden Sharp. I like Shaden Sharp a lot. I'm pretty sure like in his last 5 to 10 games, he's put up like 20 points in like half of them, which honestly is a really good sign, especially with him being like 19 years old. I think he can, I mean, coming to the draft, we knew that Shaden Sharp would be like that upside player, which yes, he might not at the beginning be that well, but like he had all the talent in the world, all the athleticism, as we saw with all of his like highlight dunks. But like he needs time, and if you have Damian Lillard on your team, you have to compete now. So like Dame, either the Blazers need to decide, do they want to keep trying to contend, which they probably won't be good enough to match up against like the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Suns, and are they willing to go all in, or are they willing to trade Dame and fully commit to this youth rebuild? And honestly, it's a tough choice because like a lot of the teams that you see around this area where that like they're the 13th seed, they're not good enough to make the play-in. Yes, they have a solid roster, but like they don't have that superstar. And what's different about this Blazers team is that they have Damian Lillard, who's I would say a top 10 to 15 player, which maybe even higher from what we saw this season. And like if you have that type of talent, you should hopefully be able to build something around him, because not many teams have that type of caliber player. But like even though he's having the most productive season of his career potentially, like this team isn't competitive enough. And like I said, Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, they're all solid players, but like they just need to find a direction. And especially these young players and these just overall players just aren't good enough to make a championship level team. So I think that the Blazers need to make a decision. Are they willing to go all in, potentially like trade a couple of these young guys like Shaden Sharp, like Anthony Simons, to help to get some help for Dame, or do they want to trade Dame, which I think is looking like the more realistic possibility right now? Are they willing to trade Dame, get a good haul, get, I don't know, like a package from the Knicks where they can get a bunch of picks, young players, and build around Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons? And also another thing is that They also have a top pick this draft, which is kind of crazy, but like if they can somehow move up, we know with the flattened odds that like anything can happen in this lottery. So if they can move up to like top 3, that would change a lot. If they get Wembanyama, Dame Wembanyama would be so fun to watch, but like you can't really count on that happening. So like yes, it's a possibility, and honestly, this whole thing would change if they get a top 3 pick, but like, you can't count on that. If they stay around, I think they're like the 6th or 7th range, you can get a solid player from there, and honestly, yes, he's a solid player, a good prospect, but like, he's gonna take a couple years to develop to become who that new prospect can really be. So like, if you have Dame on this roster, you can't really wait. So like, they just need to have this direction. There's no point being mediocre with Damian Lillard, with him having the most productive years of his career. And Dame's already like 32, 33-ish. If you're just going to keep on wasting his prime, then like, Dame isn't going to be this good forever. Like, everyone falls. He's gonna get older. He's not gonna be as athletic. And yes, I think his shooting would definitely stay for like a large majority of his career. But like, you can't count on Dame being this superstar level for like the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years. So would they trade him? I mean, of course, there would be a lot of suitors like the Knicks. I don't know, some other teams like, I don't know, the Heat. Some teams like that are willing to make a big splash for that point guard. And also like, Dame has just been so good. I just want to see Dame be on a good team. Like, yes, he's loyal to this team, and it makes sense. Like, he's having this career where he's staying with this one team. Hopefully, tries to win a championship. But as we've seen throughout his whole career, like, they haven't done anything. If you look at Dame's accolades beside his All-Stars and All-NBA appearances, he only has 1 Rookie of the Year, and that's it. That's all he's seen on his resume, which for a player as talented, as gifted as Damian Lillard, that's really quite sad to see. So like, but like, if they do trade him, I still think this Blazers team can make like a good rebuild. I mean, I think they have most of their picks. I know they traded a couple picks in some previous deals, but like, I think just not being mediocre with Dame isn't really a good direction that they should go. I mean, if Shaedon Sharpe, like I said, I think has a lot of talent. Anthony Simons, he's shown to be like a 8 to 9 three-point attempted type of guy, and being able to make it efficiently. And then you have potentially this pick in this draft, and also the assets you can get from trading, I don't know, Jeremy Grant, Damian Lillard, Yusuf Nurkic. So like, this is gonna be a solid team, and if they are patient, maybe get a couple more picks in the draft, a couple young players, get whatever they get from Dame, this team can honestly rebuild and in a couple years be better than they would be if they kept Dame. And of course, like I said, Dame's loyalty, he wants to be there. He wants to win a championship in Portland, but like, is it gonna happen? Most likely not. And like, I mean, like, the Blazers just haven't really been in a good situation in a long time. They traded CJ last season, and honestly, they pretty much got nothing. I mean, they got Josh Hart, and they got like a pick, but like, for CJ, they could have traded him a couple years before and probably got a couple more assets. So honestly, the Blazers are in a weird spot. I think that like, we know how good Damian Lillard is, but like, the supporting cast doesn't really fit him. The coaching isn't really the best, but like, it's a weird spot. I think that the Blazers need to make a decision, and we've been saying this for the last 3 years. That's the thing. But like, are they willing to keep Dame, build a competent roster around him, or are they willing to just commit to the young guys and potentially rebuild? So that being said, that's gonna be the video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.